And hello again, I'm Miranda Kahn, and I'm here with my co-host, John Cardillo. A reminder, Dr. Gina Loudon has a day off, but have no fear, she'll be back here tomorrow, and I'm sure we're going to hear more stories about
I can't wait to hear about
Israel. Yeah.
Should be super interesting. Welcome to the second hour of our Monday edition of America Talks Live. Remember, we're taking your phone calls today and every day, so give us a ring now. 1-877-NEWSBACKS, 1-877-639-7629. Now let's take a look at what's happening at the White House today. Coming up at 2 p.m., Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going to be delivering the daily press briefing, and of course we'll bring you there live during the third hour of our show. Then at 2:45 p.m., the president is going to be meeting with Klaus Schwab. Schwab is the executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. Later this afternoon, and I'm so glad they're doing this, around 5:30 p.m., President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are going to be hosting Gold Star Families Memorial Day. So important that we honor our Gold Star families. Really, really is.
All right, let's take a look, though, at today's top story. And, of course, that is the very latest on when it comes to the Robert Mueller's Russia probe. President Trump tweeted today that he has the absolute right to pardon himself. But he asked, why would I do that when I've done nothing wrong? In the meantime, the never-ending witch hunt led by 13 very angry and conflicted Democrats and others continues into the midterms. This comes after President Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, said Trump, well, he does have the power, he says, to pardon himself.
But he probably does. I mean, he has no intention of pardoning himself, but he probably does. It doesn't say he can't. I mean, that's another really interesting constitutional argument. Can the president pardon himself?
You think it's an open question?
I used to run the pardon attorney. It would be an open question. I think it would probably get answered by, gosh, that's what the Constitution says, and if you want to change it, change it.
Giuliani also told ABC News that it would be unthinkable, though, if the president did pardon himself, and that it would probably just lead to his impeachment. During another interview with ABC News, Giuliani also said it's unlikely the president will sit for an interview with the special counsel.
I mean, with leaning toward not. But look, if they can convince us that it would be brief, it would be to the point, there are 5 or 6 points they have to clarify, and with that we can get this over, this long nightmare for the American public over. When you ask me about Korea, you know how terrible I feel when I have to call them up. This letter comes out, which, I mean, somebody should be looking at these leaks and find out who the heck it is.
Former Obama Attorney General Eric Holder also weighed in on the Russia probe. He says we're on the path to a constitutional crisis.
You know, it's inevitable there's going to be some kind of a clash. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, who's going to get fired, what's going to trigger it. I think the nation can handle it, even though it's going to be some bumpy things that we're going to have to go through.
And that's where I want to welcome in former federal prosecutor Larry Klayman. He's also the founder of Freedom Watch and a regular here on Newsmax TV. Good to see you, Larry. So are we headed towards a constitutional crisis?
I don't think it's a crisis at all, but I want to comment on Eric Holder because there's a great irony there. This is the guy, as Deputy Attorney General under Bill Clinton, was selling pardons to people like Mark Rich. So his credibility is absolutely zero when it comes to constitutional crises. He should just be happy that he escaped prosecution. But I think Rudy's doing a good job, generally speaking, but sometimes he wants to be glib. There's no question that the president can pardon himself, and he shouldn't do it now, but he should pardon everybody else. He should pardon Flynn, Manafort, Gates, the rest of them, because clearly what Mueller did in terms of indicting them went far beyond his mandate. These are illegal indictments. There's a valid basis to do it. Let's clear the deck right now. This president's never going to be held accountable. He's not going to be indicted. He's not going to be impeached and convicted, but we've got to get on with the affairs of business right now and get them. Sullivan said all of the documents, Mueller's communications with the media must be produced by September 4th. I'm convinced that will show communications dealing with grand jury leaks. That'll be the end of Mueller at that point. But the president, if that's not the case, if that does not happen, then he needs to take matters into his own hands. And I think Rudy, who is really doing a relatively good job, should be careful about what he says. He shouldn't say it's an open question the president can indict himself. Excuse me, not indict himself, Freudian, can pardon himself. Because clearly he can.
You know, Larry, the president tweeted something today, much more absolute than I've seen him tweet. He was talking about a Federalist article. Now, the Federalist hasn't been always been complimentary of Donald Trump, more so since they find the Mueller investigation out of control. But the president said today that he finds the Federalist article, well, he didn't quote the Federalist article, but they were the ones that generated it, that Mueller's appointment was unconstitutional. The Federalist wrote that story, that it was unconstitutional, that Rosenstein never had the constitutional authority to even appoint Mueller. The entire thing is flawed. It never should happen. So two-part question. A, if you can briefly explain to the audience why they're making that argument, and B, do you agree with it?
Probably a correct argument. I haven't looked into it that carefully. I know that Mark Levin raised it, and it was a good point.
Yes, he did.
And if the entire matter goes up to the Supreme Court, probably that will be part of any petition for writ of mandamus or whatever the Trump campaign files, or on the other side of the coin, what the Justice Department files, which is basically representing Mueller. But I think that's a stretch in terms of actually getting results. That's about as far-fetched in terms of getting a legal analysis as it was as to whether Obama was born in this country or somewhere else or had a fake birth certificate. That's not something that our body politic, I think, is prepared to deal with. So, yes, that's a good intellectual argument. But right now, the president needs to take action on his own. He needs to pardon these people in and around him, just cut the legs out from under Mueller. I'm doing my best to show that Mueller has actually committed crimes himself and should be prosecuted. As you know, I keep saying this. I'm available to be a special counsel myself on these matters. But if not me, somebody else. They've got to start really getting tough. And Rudy going on TV is not going to do it. I mean, I don't mind that he's doing it. I think he's doing some good, but it's not enough.
So, Larry, let's shift gears and talk about this impending Inspector General's report on how the FBI handled Hillary Clinton's email probe. Now, Fox News is reporting that the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley's committee, is going to be holding a hearing on the report next week. The Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz, an Obama appointee, by the way, is going to be testifying before an open hearing that was supposed to be this week. But because the report was allegedly supposed to be released last week, Horowitz's review has already put former FBI number 2, Andrew McCabe, in legal jeopardy. We know that Andrew McCabe has been criminally referred to DOJ, not just by the Inspector General, but by members of Congress as well. Well, the Washington Post is reporting that Comey has since been questioned by the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. as part of McCabe's investigation.
Larry, what do you expect this report to reveal?
I think it's been watered down, Miranda. That's what I think. And that's what all this delay is all about. The Inspector General is being used by Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Deputy Attorney Rod Rosenstein to let some of the steam off, because there's a great pressure on them to appoint a special counsel to look into various scandals. You know, based on experience, and I'm talking about the last 30 years when I changed from being an international trade lawyer and private lawyer to the litigation to crime fighter, in effect, none of these people have ever been held accountable. Nobody at the top. And this is a kabuki theater, it's kabuki dance to try to create the appearance of getting to these matters. Sessions does not want to push too hard. He himself is under investigation by Mueller for alleged Russian collusion and obstruction of justice in the firing of Comey. This is a Washington game. The American people should not be deceived. And that's why I do what I do, because at Freedom Watch, you know, we can do things that the government won't for political reasons. And this government, frankly, is inert. I don't expect much to come out of it. I really don't.
What do you think, Larry? You say the OIG report is watered down. What do you think we're going to see as opposed to what we should be seeing? What do you think will have been removed, omitted, redacted from that report that should be there?
I think a lot will be redacted. I go through that every day in Freedom of Information Act cases that we file. But, even with McCabe, a referral to the U.S. Attorney's Office is not going to result in his indictment. It's just not going to. It'll be stuck there, and Sessions will tell him to keep it there. Let it sit. Nothing will happen.
So you think Jeff Sessions is going to tell the U.S. Attorney in D.C. to slow walk, to sit on an indictment of McCabe, and McCabe is going to escape?
Yeah, I do believe that. Sessions is scared of his shadow. I think there's a consensus right now. We have a petition with regard to Sessions on our website. People are signing it, every minute to ask him to resign or have the president fire him. But he is so scared to do anything because he himself is under investigation. And, that's something that I've said on this show, and I appreciate your letting me do that, because many people won't say that on other networks because, it's just not kosher, so to speak, to say that he's under investigation. But that's the fact. And he's been wiretapped at the Trump Tower, unmasked lightly with General Flynn and others. God knows what's on those tapes that he doesn't want out.
Well, look, there's something. One of the reasons I like your opinion, Larry, is something's going on. I've never, in my lifetime as an American, somebody who worked in law enforcement, I've never seen a chief prosecutorial officer be this passive. Let things go to this degree. I've never experienced it. So not to be conspiratorial, but something is going on. Maybe he's just checked out. He's exhausted, or maybe it's what you say.
Bill Clinton saying that there was a Democrat president now he'd be impeached, but the reality is, let's go back several years to when the Justice Department was being run by Democrats under Clinton. They wouldn't have hesitated to do something. But this Republican Sessions, who's a politician, and that was a mistake making him Attorney General. Plus, he's under investigation. They likely have him on tape, having been wiretapped, saying something, or maybe something he didn't testify to when his confirmation hearing came out. It could be held for potential perjury. He is scared of his shadow. And I've seen it in other cases, too. The Bundy case, which ultimately we had the indictment thrown out. He wouldn't take any action. I just simply asked him.
Was that also Judge Sullivan who took the government to task, or was it a different judge in the Bundy case?
No, Emmett Sullivan, there are some good people who are liberal judges. There aren't many. But Sullivan is an honest guy, and I was in front of him a week and a half ago, and he ordered Mueller and he ordered the Justice Department and its FBI to produce documents of communications with the media. This can break Mueller's back, because if he's leaked, and I believe that he has, information from inside the grand jury, we see leaks every day. It's inconceivable that he didn't. And if those documents show that, and there are no exemptions that could be claimed because that's public information when you're talking to the media, he'll either have to resign or be fired. And even the left won't be able to say anything about it. It will give the president cover to fire it. And that's why it's important, that lawsuit. And I hope people will look at it by going to Freedom Watch.
And they will. Larry Klayman,
thanks, Larry.
thank you so much for your time. Always good to have you. There's so much more to come. You're watching America Talks Live.